Here we are, another This Week in Transition, here with Tony from SubTerra Organics.
Thanks for coming.
Checking out his spot over here. I mentioned had some awesome neighbors a couple weeks back on the broadcast, so figured take advantage of this awesome opportunity to show you guys a little bit about what they're doing, and I'll let Tony take it away for a minute.
How you doing? Thanks for coming. We're a nursery and a farm here, and we're using non-traditional growing techniques. We're modeling after Paul Gauchi's Back to Eden growing style, which is predominantly using wood chips to cover the ground. We don't till, we don't use chemicals. We're trying to remain as biodynamic as possible. The only inputs we have at the moment are wood chips. And if you take a little bit of a glance through the farm, we were very late in getting things planted this year, as we also are building a house and sold our house. But you can see our wood chips way in the background. We've contacted County Electric, and they come in and they dump right after they have been trimming around the trees for the power lines. And you can see this is our vegetable area. There's a variety of vegetables, some peppers, tomatoes, cucumbers, black-eyed peas, some squash, and so forth. We've temporarily put our chickens down in the garden area. We've had them for about 6 months. They're ultimately going to be moved up to the area that we're standing in. But one of the real oddities that we're doing here is we're using hugel culture, and we've got those two parallel windrows that have all buried wood in it, and we'll get those finished up the fall, and we're going to plant strawberries all on both of those windrows, which will be real neat. And then in front of that, you can see we've got some potato beds where, again, there's no tillage. We lay the potatoes on the ground and cover them with 8 inches of wood chips. Potatoes are up and down already for the year, and we plant beans along the sides of them. And then moving up into the front area, we've got a couple of apple trees we planted in the fall. We've got Kajari melons in there. We've got horseradish, some sweet potatoes. We'll be planting some peach trees in there. And on this side of that little drainage area, we've got another hugel culture mound in process that is currently filled with the root balls from all the trees we removed from the property where we're going to build our house. And then we've got our melon patch here, and transitioning from grass to wood chips, we cover the grass with black plastic, kill that grass, and then put the wood chips on top of it. Why don't we take a walk around and get a closer look?
Awesome.
If you think about wood chips, we get whatever we get. We have no control over it. But all wood chips are not created equal. You have heartwood chip, the heartwood wood chips, which is the trunk wood. And this pile happens to be mostly heartwood. And it doesn't break down very quickly. This pile's been laying here for about a year, and it's still real woody. But if you use the Romuel wood chips, which is the leafy material in the small branches, that nitrogen input helps the wood chips break down a lot faster. And if you consider how nature works, you have trees, they send down tap roots, they harvest minerals and nutrients, and they bring them up through the trunk system, and they create leaves. And in the fall, those leaves fall to the ground and they decay and feed the soil with those nutrients and nitrogen from the green material. And no one's out there watering these trees, no one's fertilizing that. That's the way nature intended. We're just replicating nature. But ultimately what we're going to do is we're going to move those chickens to the top of this hillside, and we're going to build a small building up there for the chickens, and then we're going to put the chicken run on this hillside. So we're going to bring garden scraps to the chickens, and they'll inherently compost all of that. We'll use a deep litter method in the chicken house, filling it 12-14 inches of wood chips, and then rake those wood chips out into the chicken run. as the chickens continue to manure, it's going to create wonderful compost, and when it rains, those nutrients are going to just be brought down the hillside into the garden. So we're using the land for what we have here, and we might have to terrace this. We have found that although the wood chips appear to be stationary, when it rains really hard, they do have a tendency to move around and end up down in the creek and so forth. But that's one of our biggest things, is putting the chickens up there, because you can only do so much work. I'm 50 now, and you know, we're non-mechanized, so any way we can have nature help us, we're going to take advantage of it.
Crap. This is a blueberry. It was just about that tall when I put it in. But you can see, I mean, here's you're seeing where the chips are not very thick on here. But it's still, once you get down there, it's moist down there. But this is what it'll be like if it was not covered.
So you saw from the dry cracked ground,
So this is how it's turning now. And we're not watering that. So as the wood chips start breaking down, it starts creating this nice compost type material. And as we transition and bring the chickens into the picture more and more, we currently have 9 chickens, and we'll have about 40 or 50 chickens ultimately. And the chickens are there for the fertility, and mixing in the nitrogen from the chicken droppings helps to speed up the breakdown of the wood chips. Never till the wood chips into the ground. They'll rob nitrogen from the soil during the breakdown process, so you need to put in a nitrogen input on top of it. These beans were planted as a first crop. Beans are nitrogen fixing, the legumes are. So predominantly that's why these beans are here. It's the first crop that was planted. Let's get some fertility into the ground. There's 2 or 3 plants right in here. These were volunteered. And I counted them the other day. There's about 24, 25 cantaloupes in here. We've done no external fertilization to these cantaloupes. Whatever residual from the chickens we've got this portable fence for the chickens, and they were quarantined to this area here for about a month or so. So that was the only additional fertility. We originally put about 12 inches of chips down. And right here I can see it's not 12 inches, but this general area. And this has been here for a year, and you can see how much it's broken down. And it's turning into soil. And now we're getting down to that clay, which is the same soil that we saw over there that was all hard packed. I'm not watering this. And it hasn't rained here for what, probably 10 days, kind of?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, it just holds that moisture, and that's how we can do things here without a well.
And in this section right here, we're going to put a small quote-unquote vineyard, where we're going to close this off with some fencing. We're going to put an archway entry here. On that archway, we're going to grow like scarlet runner beans. And then we're going to put hardy kiwi berries. It's a smooth-skinned berry that it's a kiwi. It's green with the black seeds, but you don't have to peel it. You just eat it like a grape. So this area is going to be those kiwi berries and grapes. We're concentrating on perennial edibles, things that, you know, like I said, I'm 50, so we don't want to have to continually maintain and plant and replant and replant. So the more things that we can do that are perennial and continue to produce fruit, berries, and vegetables on a perennial side, and medicinal plants, those are our 2 main focuses. On this hugelkultur mound here, you can see this is the raw side of it. So I'm going to step through here so you can see, as we're cleaning out for the house, the woody material and everything, we just piled it in here. And then when we're done adding woody material, then we'll cover it with topsoil. And some of this was just picked up with the bucket when they scooped this. So once it's covered with topsoil, then we have a completed hugelkultur mound that we can plant on. And the objective behind this is that the wood will absorb water like a sponge, and then as it starts to break down, it starts to release those nutrients and moisture into the mound, supporting the plant material that you have growing on it. And we're going to then run a couple of rows of strawberries up near the top, and then as they're producing their runners, we'll just use those to continue to fill in the mound. So then that should be good for several years. The mound itself, I'm going to guess 6 to 10 years with that woody material in there. And actually, in that far distance over there from where we're now standing, if you look across the chickens, on the trees that we pulled out of the forest, we cut all the root balls off. We dug a pit, we put those root balls into that pit. We're going to fill in with some other decayed material that we bring out of the tree line, filling in the spaces there, and then we'll drag that soil back on top of that, and that'll be a larger hugel mound planting area that we're going to plant blueberries all over that, so that woody material will support the blueberry plants for years to come. And we shouldn't really have to do anything. We shouldn't have to water it. We shouldn't have to fertilize it. A certified nursery for the state of Tennessee, and growing vegetables is only a small portion. Our mainstay, we're really looking to bring forth a lot of the perennial edibles and medicinal type plants. A lot of homesteading is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, and we want to be suppliers because you don't really have a place where you can go to get a lot of these things. These are coneflowers, which is echinacea, enhance your immune system and it's a commonly used drug that you can buy over the counter, and cold ease, like a cough drop you take. This is yarrow, antibiotic, antimicrobial. It's great for if you get cuts, putting it on there. You make a poultice. They're a little dry because it's been so hot, but you take the leaf material from it and you just chew it up or grind it all up until you get all the wetness coming out of it, and you can put it right on a bug bite or a cut, and it really is incredible how fast it'll help it heal. This is black cohosh, is an anti-inflammatory. It's used cramping, PMS, it's good for that. Then we have a variety of herbs and so forth here, that a lot of the herbs are used in essential oils, aromatherapy, stress reduction, let alone cooking. We have also ornamental plants in here as well. There's blueberries, about 40 blueberries back there, a few different varieties, strawberries, and butterfly bushes behind those, and a lot of these other plants are ornamental. We do plant propagation too, and as we continue to increase our infrastructure, we'll be putting mist beds in and continue to expand our propagation. Oh, this is garlic chives. It's a great companion plant to plant with tomatoes, as it releases, I think it's a bacteria, I'm not 100% sure, it's something that's releasing out of its root system, helps to ward off blight, and so it's good to plant in with your tomatoes. Yeah, we had actually last year we had 9 beds here that are 50 feet long and 3 feet wide, and there's drip tape on them that we run off of that battery operated pump with those IBC totes that we fill from the spring water. That's our water supply. But as we've been so busy, we only had 3 beds running this year. We harvested all of our bulb onions out of the farthest bed. We've got green onions and leeks here, and our cherry tomatoes and that tomatillo are volunteers. And I can't say enough about volunteers. I mean, they wanted to grow there. They're gonna grow here, and you can see how prolific they are with the amount of fruit that they have on them. So, I mean, we've got a pretty good overview of everything, where we've got a few open topsoil beds, which is the only real traditional farming techniques that we're using here. And then we've got our hugel culture beds, we've got our wood chipped garden, another hugel culture. One thing that we really didn't talk about much is back behind the truck back there, where all those wood chip piles are, as we're continuing on the phases of the infrastructure of the farm, once we get our house built, we're going to put a aquaponics greenhouse back there. That'll be a 365-day-a-year glass house or polycarbonate house, and we're going to dig a trench 50 feet long, 4 feet wide, 4 feet deep. That'll hold 5,000 gallons of water, 1,500 marketable tilapia, and then feed the plant beds where that water will cycle through the plant beds in that greenhouse. The plants will clean the water for the fish excrements are the fertilization for the plants. Then we can use that house also for our seeds starting in the spring for our bedding plants and so forth. So that's pretty much an overview of what we got going here. If you're in the area ever, please feel free to stop by. If we're back here working and you pull up, you see us back here, just pull in and say hello. We'd like to meet you all.